All right, folks, it's time for the Friday Malzberg panel. And on said panel today, we have David Goodfriend, Democratic strategist, former Deputy Staff Secretary to President Clinton, and Larry Elder, radio host of The Larry Elder Show, author of Dear Father, Dear Son, 2 Lives, 8 Hours. Gentlemen, welcome aboard. Boy, do we have some things to get to today. And Larry, I'm not going to start with the Mets beating the Dodgers because I know you don't want to talk about that.
I don't want to talk about that.
I'm not mentioning it at all. It will never come up. I will not even say Mets Dodgers.
I haven't seen that since Little League.
The stolen base by Murphy. Yes, I know.
Oh my goodness.
And the thing here is that Murphy is the worst base runner in the world. He's usually oblivious to where he is.
Everybody was sleepwalking that moment.
But you know what he said? You know what
Inexcusable.
He said? And I'm waiting for them to lambaste him for this. He said, Jesus. Seriously, I'm being all serious. He attributed everything he said, all the success he had in the series, and last night he said Jesus guided him. So I give him a lot of credit for that. Okay.
I think he made a contribution to the Clinton Foundation.
Wait. Larry, say what?
I think he made a contribution to the Clinton Foundation.
David, say what?
Cubs are going to win anyway. None of this matters.
Oh, now he's throwing down the gauntlet here. All right, we'll see. We'll see. All right, let's get to Hillary. It turns out now that according to reports, the FBI is investigating Hillary, Larry, and focusing, of course, on the gross negligence provision of the Espionage Act. Now, recently, yesterday at the press club, I believe several people, whistleblowers from the NSA and elsewhere, came forward who had been prosecuted under that provision of the Espionage Act, lost their jobs, sent to jail, lost their life savings for far, far less than Hillary is accused of doing.
Absolutely, but Obama threw her a Bernie Sanders lifeline when he said that in an interview recently that he doesn't believe any national security was compromised. The FBI, I understand, is furious about this because they've not yet made a determination about that, but Obama has already, in my opinion, compromised the investigation.
Well, let's hear, David, before we go to you, let's hear what Barack Obama did say that Larry's referring to in his interview with Steve Croft on 60 Minutes.
Did you know about Hillary Clinton's use of private email server?
No.
While she was Secretary of State?
No.
Do you think it posed a national security problem?
I don't think it posed a national security problem. I think that it was a mistake that she's acknowledged. This is one of those issues that I think is legitimate, but the fact that for the last 3 months this is all that's been spoken about is an indication that we're in presidential political season.
All right, they did walk that back the following day, David. They said he didn't mean to say that to prejudge the FBI investigation. But, you know, here's a guy who, every time he weighs in on an ongoing case, claims, you know, I don't talk about ongoing cases, but, you know, Trayvon Martin was murdered, the Ferguson cop was wrong, the police in Boston acted stupidly. So here again, an active case being investigated by the FBI, and he weighs in.
So are you suggesting that politics is making its way into the issue of Hillary Clinton's emails?
I don't understand what you're asking. Why would the president, when his own FBI is investigating, why would he say anything?
You are concerned, it sounds like, that politics, partisan politics, is bleeding into the issue of Hillary Clinton's emails. I would totally agree. Let's make news here. I'll say right here in the Malzberg report, I think it's terrible that politics is bleeding into an investigation, and that's exactly why, as Bernie Sanders says, the American people are sick and tired of hearing about Hillary Clinton's damn emails.
All right, but did you hear Obama say, David, that this is a legitimate issue? My question to you, David, is, do you think this is a legitimate issue about whether or not national security was compromised the way Hillary handled her emails? Is it?
As the president himself said, there is a legitimate issue here, and it's being bastardized by a political show, which is why an Air Force reservist.
I don't want to hear about him anymore. Yeah,
no, we're going to talk about this.
David, he was fired. He was fired. He was fired.
Badmouthed by Chairman Trey Gowdy because he has the gumption to say it's all political.
David, Larry, the fact of the matter is the president's own Justice Department and FBI, who I guess are politically motivated, who I guess are right-wingers, who I guess are out to get Hillary, are continuing to investigate. And not only that, as you alluded to, Larry, the reports are that after hearing Obama say what he said, the FBI, many people who are investigating this case are furious.
And four Americans didn't die, including the ambassador, and there was no issue about national security, and there was no misleading statement about videotapes having prompted this. This is all a bunch of nonsense, all done because of Trey Gowdy and the others who want to bring down Hillary. Right, David?
am so glad. I'm so glad to hear conservatives say they think there's too much politics in this Hillary email thing. I agree. Too much politics, and it starts right there with Trey Gowdy and the Republicans, which is why we've got a guy, a second member of Congress, a second member of the Republican caucus saying this is all just political.
Who's not on the committee, by the way. So he means absolutely
okay.
nothing.
So he's not. He doesn't count.
David. The FBI is investigating Hillary Rodham Clinton, and if she's found to be guilty of the violation of the section of the act they're investigating, she goes to jail for 10 years. And you're saying politics.
Right. What is your definition of if? Coming from a former Clinton White House guy, I'm going to say, what's your definition?
You know what, David? I don't have to answer that. You said it all, David. You said it all with that question. You are a Clintonista. You are a Clintonista, aren't you?
If the FBI finds her guilty, it's over. If a meteorite hits the United States tomorrow, it's over. So if is a word.
Larry.
Big word, if.
Go ahead, Larry.
One more time, you have a Republican former staffer claiming something, and a left-wing liberal Republican claiming that it's political, and as a result, therefore, it's political, and we ought to ignore the fact that 4 people died, including the ambassador. There's an issue of lack of security, the misleading story that Susan Rice gave. None of that matters to people like David. It's amazing to me, stunning.
Well, we started off this conversation, Larry, as you recall, with the indication that President Barack Obama has somehow politicized.
All right, guys, we got to come to the second segment.
And I'm here
we'll
to
come back
tell
to
you.
the panel right after this. All right, welcome back to the Malzberg panel. Before we get back to David and Larry, I just want to point out, you know, Newsmax TV was one of the few to really talk about the prison ban that was instituted on pork products, and the group CARE, the unindicted co-conspirators in the Holy Land Foundation trial. That group came out and praised Obama and the administration for banning pork products in prison. Well, guess what? That's been overturned due to public pressure put on, I'd like to think, by folks like me and this network and others who talked about this. It was outrageous, and I think it was done to appease the Muslims in prison. That's why CARE applauded it, and now it's been overturned. So good things do happen sometimes. All right, I want you to listen to Barack Obama speaking today about the Palestinian terror attacks in Israel.
That it's important for both Prime Minister Netanyahu and Israeli elected officials and President Abbas and other people in positions of power to try to tamp down rhetoric that may feed violence or anger or misunderstanding, and try to get all people in Israel and in the West Bank to recognize that this kind of random violence isn't going to result in anything other than more hardship.
All right, so there he is, guys. You know, everything's balanced. Israel has a right to defend itself, but the Palestinian Authority not only teaches their kids from the time they could watch TV and put a Mickey Mouse on their form of Sesame Street and say, "Kill the Jew! Take Jerusalem with your blood!" But in school, they read about Jews and monkeys kill the Jew. And now you got 13-year-olds running around with knives, stabbing 75-year-old women. And Obama sits there, as Abbas says, "They're killing our children. It's genocide." And says, "No, Netanyahu has to do something. Abbas has to do something." This is sick, Larry, sick.
It is sick, and what is the Israeli rhetoric to which he's referring in the first place? It's the Palestinian side that put out the lie that Israel was taking over the Temple Mount. It's Abbas that put out the lie that Israel was summarily executing Palestinians. And the majority of people, by the way, in the Middle East still believe Arabs had nothing whatever to do with 9/11. So it doesn't take much of a lie to get people to incite. And right now you have 8 people being killed in Israel, 8 Jews. and multiply that times 50 to get an idea of what that is in this country, because Israel is 1/50th the size of America. That's the equivalent of 400 people being stabbed or killed over the recent days. And what Obama's acting as if it's a moral equivalency on both sides. It's outrageous.
Right, and David, of course, Israel better not respond disproportionately.
No, can't.
Yeah, otherwise there'll be trouble.
Well, I've given a lot of thought to this issue. I'm a Zionist. I brought my family to Israel for my son's bar mitzvah. I care deeply about Israel. But I happen to think that we're just going to keep seeing this over and over again until there's a fundamental shift. Somebody has to change the cycle. I actually think that Prime Minister Ehud Barak, when he was in power, when he was following the lead of the assassinated Yitzhak Rabin, was moving in a direction that this current government in Israel has explicitly said they will not do, and that is try to establish a second state, a Palestinian state with land swaps. They said, we just won't do it. And so you're wondering, where's the rhetoric on the other side? That
David, they won't do it because the other side will not stop the violence.
Well,
that's why.
I think that's an easy way to say, then therefore we should just do nothing. And then you are the same. I mean, so you have to admit, you have to concede that what we're seeing today is horrible, it's terrible, but it's not necessarily unpredictable. These things.
You know what, David? You know why it's not unpredictable,
over and
David?
over again.
It's not unpredictable because they're a culture of Jew haters. They teach their children to be Jew haters. That's why it's predictable, David. And look what happened to the good people of Gaza when they were given Gaza by Israel. Didn't they make that a flourishing honey land? Didn't they do good with that? And if they gave them the West Bank or gave them East Jerusalem, it would be more of the same. There's no reason to believe not. And by the way, David, your good people over there on the other side, the poor Palestinians, ripped up the Oslo Accords. And I haven't heard boo from this administration about that.
The Oslo Accords called for self-determination on both sides and called for the eventual establishment of a Palestinian state. And when the I'm going to be clear about it. When the government of...
Guys, I'm done. I talked too much. I read Larry, I apologize. Guys, have a great weekend. You've probably heard about the shocking new book, Unlikable, The Problem with Hillary by Edward Klein. Unlikable has already skyrocketed to the top of the bestseller list. The author, Edward Klein, wrote the #1 New York Times bestsellers, The Amateur and Blood Feud. Now in Unlikable, Klein offers a stunning, powerful expose of Hillary Clinton and a floundering race for the White House. Klein reveals the angry rivalry between Hillary and Barack Obama. Now, Unlikable retails for $29.95, but you can get it with our free offer. So get this almost $30 value free today. Just go online or call the toll-free number on your screen. With the 2016 election fast approaching, you need to get Unlikable and be armed with the truth about Hillary.